So we are here and we are ready to start the second phase of our project, Monsieur Polichinelle. So Jose has got the kit out. This is a random kit out of our inventory. So we're going to open it up and take a look at it. So the first thing we're going to do is, which we suggest that you do, is we're going to look at first the inventory sheet to make sure that everything is there. And you can see number 1 is stripe 12 by 22 and what it comes with, the tarlatan, etc. And this is really helpful to go through the kit. And then the next thing we're going to look at is the layout sheet. So we've got our layout sheet, and if you can see up in the right hand corner, there are numbers, and that correlates with the little bags that have all of the items in it. So we're going to go through that, and then I think it's always a good idea to read directions. Although we usually don't read directions here, do we, Jose?
No, we don't. Not really, no.
we just go in but it is a good idea to read directions, particularly if it's someone else's pattern. And why we don't read directions is because usually we make all our own anyways. So this has got all of the techniques that you're going to use and the way to do it. But we will give you things in this video that are not in these directions. So we've got all that. And then I think it's really important to study the pattern pieces. So right now we're just going through all of this, and we're going to decide what to do and how to do it. There's some freedom there, so we've got all that. And pant pattern. Now we're not going to, in this session, teach the hat and shoes because you've already seen that for the Mademoiselle, and it's the same, there's no difference. So we're going to just do on this one the pant and the top. That's all we're going to do, and that we've already taught in the previous session. So we've got that. So let's move right on into the pattern pieces. And the shoes, you've already been taught that, so we won't do that. So here are our pattern pieces. So that's the top, the pants, and part of the sleeve, and cuffs, over sleeves, over pant. And then the pant. The pant is different than the girls because these are to be worn. The girls are under and these are outers. So we're ready. So we pretty well know what we're going to do. Those of you, take time before you cut these out. And it's a good idea to use tracing paper and trace it out first. But I think we're going to, you can do whatever you want, but I think we're going to start with, don't you think we should start with the pant?
Yes, we should. And should we show them the packets?
Yes.
The packets.
Okay. So here's the packets. They're all numbered. So the numbers correlate with your pattern layout. So this makes it very easy. What we're going to do is, since we're going to do the pant first, we're going to cut out the pant, and we're going to put the, maybe we'll do all the cutting out of the pattern pieces, and then we're going to bag them,
Yep.
which means we're going to cut the pieces out, and then we're going to put them in the proper bags. So we're going to use our scissors that are little cheapo scissors, and we're going to cut those out. So we're going to start with the pant. We've already done the socks, so we're not going to do that.
Actually, I'm just going to go around it a little bit. Not quite on the lines, okay?
And this is your own technique where you like to leave a little, and then it helps you when you're cutting out too. Now, since we're going to go right to this, we're going to we're not gonna bag it. But if you're the type of sewer that likes to cut out all at once, then what you do is you cut these pattern pieces out and put them in your bags. It just makes it less, much more organized. So we've got our two pant pieces, which we're going to cut out in the silk, and then we cut out bag number 1, and then we're going to cut it out in the tarlatan too, because unlike the girls, these are lined with tarlatan, because we want this to be standing on its own. So in your bag, you should have the pieces to make the pant and to, so it looks all good. It's the time to check it, make sure everything's nice. So we're gonna press that out, and we've got our tarlatan piece. So let's do some pressing. We got our little helper here today, Bixby. Where are you, dear? There you are. So if you hear grunting and snorting, it's not us. We might want to use a little bit of a mister on that. Looks like it's... We have these misting bottles for sale in our boutique, and they are just phenomenal. Sometimes when you're using just a recycled Windex bottle or something like that, it ends up squirting in a big mess. It is not possible to have a mess with it. When you're working with really good material, you do not want to lose it by... the tarlatan has a certain amount of stickiness to it, and when you press it out and mist it, it reactivates that, which is what we want. Okay. So now we're going to cut.
Okay, first we will fold this in half, just to make sure we are fitting the 2 pattern pieces at once, okay?
And so you're gonna do the...
I'm gonna do the little trick.
Do it together.
Yes. We want to match every line.
Yeah, it does pay off to match those lines, I believe.
Yes, especially, stripes. If the fabric slides, then you will not have a
match.
A match.
The new term for that is fussy cut. I had to learn that, which I did not know.
So I'm going to place
I think you need to move that over a little bit from where I'm seeing. From my angle, there you go.
There. You can match the lines.
Okay,
right?
that's perfect.
Okay.
You got it.
Sorry.
It's like I Love Lucy. That's one of the great episodes of when she's making a dress and she pins it to the carpet.
there's really no way to save a little bit of fabric on this. It's because of the shape of the patterns, you know.
Well,
that's all right.
that's a nice amount of fabric there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you could make something out of that. I mean, we've tried to give enough so that they could make a mistake and
Okay. It's nicely flat on the back.
yeah, let me see that again. So that's, you don't have any puckers. I mean, the camera's getting some shade, but in life that looks really good.
So, okay, we'll proceed to cut.
Of course, you're using my scissors to go right through the.
No, these are mine.
Poor David, he's always grabbing scissors to. I think I'll take your sewing scissors and cut cardboard with it. And then he pretends that he doesn't understand why we don't like that.
There's one.
That's a really good technique of the over.
Leaving the extra. Yeah,
Now
I
you're
guess
very
you want
very
to do
precise.
it precise. You want to just follow the black line.
Of course, it does mean that going through the paper and tarlatan, that at some point those scissors are going to have to go and be resharpened. But we do that at least once a year. They all go to the, during vacation, they go to Los Angeles to the scissor sharpener.
Very nice amount.
Oh, that is. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, you could
So,
definitely make
absolutely, you can.
a couple of things out of that, and you could also use it to trim a dress. Now these pant pieces, don't get in a rush, study it, because they're not identical. There's two different,
Yep, it's the front and the back.
the front and the back.
Yep. Okay, so there.
We've cut those out.
And from
We have to cut out the waistband.
waistband. So I'm gonna use this part right here.
Yeah, perfect.
And it'll be not double, just single
Yeah.
layer.
Because we're just cutting one. And that way we will, again, save the tarlatan, because this is great for hat making, for interfacing, for many uses. And it's actually hard to get the nice quality stuff. You can get the industrial strength tarlatan that's used for cleaning machinery, but you don't want to use that for dressmaking.
Are you sure? You don't want your quinceañera made out of that?
Well, I guess I could do a quinceañera out of it. But you know what? The quinceañera costumes, they take it very seriously. So
Yes.
I mean, they're not even gonna use the cheap stuff if it doesn't make a gorgeous quinceañera dress. Okay, so we're ready then. We're gonna open up some bags because I think that as we're probably gonna need first thing is our ribbon to hem the pant sleeve or pant leg. So we're gonna pull out our ribbon first and just get that prepared. All nicely done.
Beautifully packed. Package.
Yeah, I wish I could say I did it myself, but I didn't. So there's our, and we're gonna get that prepared. We'll be ready for it. So we're gonna get the machine together and we'll start. We'll be back. So we're back. We have cut out the pant. We are flat lining it, which that means doesn't mean that the pant dyed. It means that you put the material and the lining, you stack them on top of each other. So we're going to pin it, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew up the darts. Correct?
Yes, and that goes on the front pieces and the back pieces too. So,
Yes. And you do need to keep those separate because they're slightly different. So Annabelle has decided to join us. Hello, Annabelle. So we'll get those all pinned. This has a side opening, which is a little different for a boy, but the reason we have a side opening is we don't want a front opening or a back opening to ruin the line of the pant.
okay,
So we're ready. So the machine is all threaded up. It'll be the thread that you'll be getting in your kit that you'll use. It's white thread. So we're going to pin it. And the seam allowance is 1/4 inch on this. Most all of the seam allowances on this costume are 1/4 inch, but there are a few instances where it's not. So study the pattern pieces.
I'm gonna do all 4 at once.
Yeah, why not?
There's Lulu here.
There's a whole 3 bulldogs here. That's Lulu snorting and grunting. Sneezing.
Okay, so I have all 4 pieces, and there.
We'll sew them up.
There, I just broke my thread.
It happens. How many stitches per inch are you using?
I'm using 10.
10. Jose's doing this where he's just running it through. Not everybody can do this, so don't, if you don't have the experience, don't try this. It could be really, really bad. It's the only way, though, if you're doing a big production of garments, that you can do it quickly. So we've got these all sewn down with darts, and now we're going to press them out, because this is something you really want to press. Oh, you can see, already see the shape starting, which is really neat.
Okay. So that's what they look like.
You can already see a shape starting to form. Oh, good. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, and maybe we don't have to press it out yet, because we can do the
These start the time is so stiff that you can just
use your fingers.
use your fingers,
Yeah.
like to one side, whichever side you want, to the left, to the
So
right.
shall we do next? We should probably sew the crotches of each piece together.
Yes. So I'm gonna grab one right here, and I'm gonna pin it.
Yeah, because we don't want slippage. And you're going to kind of pin it close to the seam allowance, so it'll go into the...
Just grab another piece.
And those stripes should match perfectly.
There you go. That's right.
Yep, they do.
Okay, there's one, and I'm gonna do the other one too.
And the stripes should match up again on this perfectly, because we took the time to align them.
Just making sure that when you have those both pieces on top of each other, they match perfectly,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
There we go. Okay, now let's just sew them up. You're doing the same 10 per,
yes.
yeah, you're not changed it in any way. There we go. So now we're going to do pressing out. Don't you think we should do that next?
Yes.
Yeah. Because the next thing we would do is we're going to sew the legs . Okay.
Okay.
Let's see how it looks on the other side. Looks very nice.
You can also do another.
Yeah, I think
Slightly.
I would do that. Give it another little press. Good.
Okay. Okay, so,
Okay, we're ready.
okay, the next step.
We got the
Okay, we
front.
got the front right here.
And we've got a
The
little
side opening. I'm going to do a little clip right here.
And that reminds us of where it is. And that's only on one side, people. So,
Only one side.
so just remember that. We just want to make sure we've got all our stripes falling together. Coming together, not falling together. And we're going to sew these both side seams up, and then we've got a little something different to do.
Okay.
All right, let's sew it up. Again, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance that we're
It may
using.
be a little hard to see, but I marked the starting point of the opening with a pin.
Right. And you've also made a snip there.
Yes.
And if you make a mistake, you just have to take it out and happens once in a while. And we're still at 10 stitches per inch. Okay, we're going to press that out, and then we will be back.
Okay, let me give you a little trick on here.
Oh, okay.
Since we have this shape right here, it's, curved. Clip that. We are going to do clips. So that when we turn it around, it's, if it makes,
It flows better,
it flows better, yes.
but we still have to press it out.
Yes.
The clips. You just don't want to clip into the stitches. That is what you don't want to do. So then you'll have to redo it.
Okay.
We're going to press it, and then we will be back. So we're back. We have pressed out the pant. It looks very good. Well, we took a moment and we did a basting stitch on the pant leg, and we've gotten that pretty close to the edge. You know, you could go up a little farther, but we got it pretty close to the edge. And then we use the machine for that. And then we have basted basted the edge of the closure, on the side closure. And that we've done by hand. So the next thing we're going to do is prepare the ribbon. And the ribbon, we've cut off 14 inches of ribbon. This is what you're going to need for the pant leg and to do the side opening. So what we do is show them that again, Jose. This is how you do ribbon. You go one direction. You don't go back and forth or you will create a mess. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the fold over. And this we do by we start it. Like
You don't
so.
want to go all the way to the edge. Just leave a little.
Like a little, tiny little bit there. And so we're going to just go in one direction.
Yeah.
It's easier on that. That's a little topsy-turvy. You don't want to overwork this ribbon. And it's ready. Well, it looks like, you know what, I think we need, it's being very fussy today. I think it needs to have a little misting. Because we don't want to be arguing with the ribbon when we're, is the iron hot enough, do you think?
Yes.
Okay. We use a dry iron and only misting bottles. There, I think now we're getting a, you just have to let it sit for a minute. That's more like it. So mist it, people. Because we don't want to be pinning this. Okay, so that's good.
There.
And we could, yeah, that'll do it. There's Annabelle. She's got to be in the middle of the display room at all times. Be nice for her to take a nap. And then we got
Should be
Louis.
one. This one over.
And Louis under the table. There's Louis. Oh, here's Louis. Here's the
That's
other.
the head of Louis.
Here's the head of Louis. There he is. Hey, Lou. So now we're going to do the pant leg. You have in your kit, you have thread that you'll use to sew this down. So we're probably just going to pin the edge, don't you think? And then
You could pin the edge. Yes.
just
yes.
to hold it. But the rest of it, we'll get right in and sew it. Now this is actually really not going to show because there is an overpant decoration that's going to go over this. But this is just quality so that if you were looking up his leg, pant leg, or he did a quick spin, that you wouldn't just see a raw edge. So this is just a little luxurious part of this costume. And we are going to do this binding also on the side opening. Annabelle, you stop that. She's mothering Bixby right now, and it can get really loud. She'll groom him. Doesn't mean at 3 o'clock they'll get into a big fight, but in the meantime, she'll mother him. Might be the mailman. Oh, it's David. This is live. Let me show them the stitch. So you're doing just a little flea bite on one side and a bigger on the other. And we're not going to cut this until we get to the very end, because this actually helps preserve as much ribbon as we can. And then you're going to tie it off. And you can see the inner got the little flea bites on one side and a little bigger on the in the inners. So that's ready to go. We'll do the other side and we'll be back. So we're back. We have got both of the legs are now bound very nicely. Can you show that so they can see? So it looks very nice. Both sides are done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bind the closure. Well, we're not exactly going to bind it, but we're going to interface it, I guess would be the best term for that. And this is going to look nice, but it's also going to add some strength to the garment. So what we're going to do is we're taking the ribbon that has been folded in half, and we're going to place it right at the edge. And then we are going to sew it by hand, of course, to this piece. And this just adds a little decorative look to it, and it also does give the piece some strength. And we're doing very small little stitches. Just a little running stitch, but small. And you're just picking up through the fold over of the silk, correct?
Yes.
Everybody who sews your has tough fingers because we use our fingers to navigate all those needles. What kind of needle are you using for this, Jose?
I'm using a size 11 straw needle for quilting, and I find it very proper for this type of ribbon because it doesn't make holes, big holes as you stitch on it.
And it's a nice length. I usually use shorter needles, but Jose likes.
It's a nice length. It's not too small, not too big.
Yeah.
And on this side, you just grab the tarlatan. You don't want to, making sure you don't want the stitches showing on the front.
No, we do not want that. And if they show on the front, then we take our seam ripper and we take it out. And then we redo it so we get it right. I mean, this is an easy little thing to do, but it just adds some quality to the work. Now we are going to overcast all of the seams in the inside. so that everything lays down properly. We'll do it at the front and back opening, sides, not front and back opening, and the legs. And we'll do that next, so that way, before we close it up, it's easy to get access. I'm going to trim a little bit. There, that looks really good, nice. We'll do the other side, and then we're going to do the overcasting, and we'll be back. We are back. We have completed the interfacing of the opening, now we're going to just show you something that's not in your kit, but you really should do with this. You should do a couple of stitches right at the edge, or at the end of the
Opening.
And this is just going to give you strength when we have to get this pant over his hips. So this is just a little thing that you can do to give that more strength. It doesn't show, but it just adds a little strength there. And now we're ready to put in the waistband. So we've taken our tarlatan piece. This we're going to have to press over, but we're going to, should we press it first?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to press it first. The reason I ask that is sometimes you can get away with tarlatan without pressing it because it's got a nice little, so we're going to press it out. And then we're going to press the ends over 1/4 inch. So there we go. And we'll do the ends 1/4 inch too, because that should work just perfectly. Or do you want to wait and do
We
that?
can wait.
We can wait and do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
there.
So it's just one end, because one end you're going to sew. So there's no need to press that. So we've got our piece. All right.
I'm gonna leave like 1/4 inch,
Yeah, we'll fold that over.
and then the folded side, the folded edge should be at the bottom.
At the bottom, so that when we flip it, it will give us a nice fold to tack down, and it also gives it a little strength. Now we should have, before we went this far, overcast the crotch seams, but we didn't. And we're going to do it, but it'll be easier for all of you if you do it before we get to this stage. So don't do what we did. So we've got plenty there of tarlatan, so we can do our fold overs. All right, so I guess we just sew it up now. Let's do it. So those of you that are our friends in the United Kingdom, Rosie, my sewing machine, she was born in Great Britain. So we're going to do this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to lose part of our pant, but we're going to gain it with the, and we're doing 10 stitches per inch.
Correct.
You can do this kit by hand, you can do it by machine, but this gives This gives the garment strength, I think.
Okay, we clip all the threads. So there you have it. Okay. So what you do now is fold the hem. The seam. The seam doors up. I'm going to clip this a little bit. I'm going to leave it,
even it out to the other side.
Half an inch.
Okay.
Okay. So the easiest way for this step is to turn it the inside out. It's a good thing this tarlatan can be just, folded and stays in place.
Folding it over, and then we'll press it. I don't think we even need to press it. We could just go in and sew it.
Yep.
All right, so let's sew it down. This is so... Annabelle's just totally finding this a total snoozer. When we're done with this, we're going to overcast it, and then we'll be ready to sew up the legs. This makes a nice little sturdy waistband. And we have lots and lots of original garments that the waistband is tarlatan. Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's black. Black is a little harder to find, but it is out there. Well, we'll sew all this up, we'll do the overcasting, and we'll be back. Okay, so we've got the waistband in, the legs are looking good, the shape of the pant is lovely. So the next thing to do at this time is because it'll be easier, you don't have to do it now, but we decided we're going to do this at this stage, is we're going to put the gold trim on the side of the pant. And this gold trim goes right center of the seam, the side seams of the pant. So take your pack of gold trim, which is right here, and you are going to cut off 14 inches of the trim. We're going to pin it down, and then we're going to sew it down. Now, don't measure off your piece of where it's going to be, because your seam allowances, if you've done anything different, could be slightly different, but measure it when it's finished, because we really don't want to waste any materials whatsoever. So this should be, we measured it that we need 14 inches. So we're going to do that. And this we're pinning because we want it to be so that's pretty good. So it looks great. We're going to pin the other side. A little fold at the top. That's going to cover up our little stitches that we did for strength. So we have to get this over his hips. And it will be a little snug. Don't be worried. It'll be snug, but it'll fit right over. And then we're going to sew this up. We're going to use our white thread because there's no reason to have a gold thread because it's a lovely trim to work with, and the stitches will just disappear. So we'll sew that up, and you can see the trim is obviously shorter on the side that has the opening, but the overskirt's going to cover that, so we don't have to worry about that. And we'll do a little fold over. Or no, you're going to clip it.
A little bit, yeah, just a little clip and then...
A little clip and then a fold over. We'll sew that up, and then we will be back for the next step. Well, we've just about finished sewing up the trim, but we want to show you the technique that we do, which is we sew both of the edges of the trim down. It's very, very easy. Don't let it scare you. You can take kind of nice bold stitches, and you're just going to weave it in and out with the running stitch. This is really nice trim to work with. Occasionally, you'll get a little pop-up of some gold trim, and you just clip that off. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So this is all we're doing is just going down the edge. It's actually kind of enjoyable to do because it just is very smooth. Don't you think it's a great trim to work with?
Oh, yes, it is. Yep.
Jose does a lot of restoration of crash figures for Persepios, his Percepio, and for some of the California missions here. And he works with, 200-year-old trim that is just, isn't it just exhausting sometimes to sew it on?
Yeah, it can be, yeah.
And so this is just really nice to work with. I mean, it toughens you up, that trim, but this is really nice to work with. So we're just about done, and we're ready to take the last few stitches, and we're going to tie it off. And then we're going to do the final construction thing on this step. Do a couple there. It's not going anywhere. So that looks really nice. And then we're going to kind of use our fingers and finger press this and get it the way we want. But then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew up the legs.
Okay. Going to pin.
So we don't want slippage. So you got to do it a little slower.
I turned the inside out.
And we're just going to pin it so that we hold on to our touch-up trim to get it smoothed out.
Okay. Now I'm going to grab the center of the crotch and open it hem to hem of the crotch.
And hopefully, everything should just line, oh, it's lining up really nice. So that's a nice, oh, perfect. Just lines up perfectly. It pays to cut it out right. Okay, there we go.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right. I know that you all like to see this up close, but if I get any closer, I will be hitting Jose's nose.
Yes.
All right, now we're going to sew that up. Again, we're using 1/4 inch seam allowance. I mean, at this point, we don't have to measure it because we just know by looking at it what we're working with. We're doing 10 stitches per inch,
Yes.
which are very nice for doll clothes, but they're not nice when you have to take them out.
I just lost a needle, but that's okay. I finished.
All right.
Finish.
So now we're going to
Remove the pins.
remove the pins, and we're going to press that out, and then we're going to do a little overcasting, and then we will be back and we will flip this over and see if it works. We're back. We've got the pants fitted. They look very nice. Everything's ready to go. So the next stage that we're going to do is we are going to start working on the cuffs. So we're ready to go with that. We're back, and we are now on to a new chapter. We're going to do the pant cuff next so that we can complete the process of doing the pants completely. But while we're doing the pant cuff, we also are going to cut out the over sleeve and the over pant that is attached to the bodice, or the top. So we're going to look at what Jose was just showing is the fabric layout, and we're going to do number 3, which is bag 3, layout 3. Now I got this prepared while Jose was doing something else, got the fabric prepared, and then when he went to lay it out, it was confusing to him and I had forgotten. But if you follow the way it's laid out on the layout sheet, it works. So we take our
Tarlatan, folded in half, and the silk folded in half as well. And we will put this.
And we're folding it in half to each piece to itself, not folded over on top of each other.
I'm just gonna pin it just to secure it in place. A couple of pins here and there. Okay.
So we're going to just stack these up, and they will just fit.
No, it's the other way. So.
No, there you go. And if we actually read the chart, that one goes on top. The biggest one goes in the center, which is the oversleeve. There you go.
And you even still have a little bit of fabric left.
Now, if you do it, this is the way to do it, because we've sat here and fussed with this for a while, trying to think that it didn't work, but it does work. If you fold it like this, and let's measure what this ends up to be when you fold it. It should be,
The measuring tape back there. Okay.
oh, here it is.
Okay, so you have 9 by 11.
9 by 11. So you want to fold it till it's 9 by 11, because it was very confusing for a second, and then we actually looked at the suggested layout, and it works perfectly. So we're going to pin that, and then we're going to cut it all, and we will come back and we will start sewing it. So we've cut out all the pieces from section 11 of the layout. And so we have the oversleeve, the overpant, and the pant cuff. So we're going to put the pant overpant aside, and we're going to put the oversleeve aside because we're going to do those later. So we're going to put them back into the bag, wherever the bag is, and then we're going to move on to the pant cuff. Annabelle is really enjoying this exciting sewing workshop. So of these, in these two kits, this is the tightest bit of this trim decoration that we're going to do. So we're pinning it, and then we're going to sew it. And then we're going to do an intense amount of hand sewing.
I'm pinning every other point.
Yeah.
Less pins for me to sew over, because I usually sew over the pins. I've broken so many needles. Okay.
You haven't broken that many needles.
Well,
I've been listening.
along the time that I've been sewing,
Okay,
quite a
maybe
few.
16 or 17. That's not bad, one a year. So, okay. So now we're going to sew it up. Remember, we're going to use throughout this, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're going to do about 10 stitches per inch.
Okay, actually, you know what I do, Michael, here? In order to save, not to make the seam too wide, what I do, I do an eighth.
An eighth of an inch?
An eighth of an inch.
Okay. So this you're going to do an eighth of an inch?
Yes, and basically the eighth of an inch is, I'll show you.
On the zipper foot?
On the zipper foot, which is like, like that. Like.
Okay, there you go. So that's about an eighth of an inch. You can do it an eighth of an inch, you can do it a 1/4.
A 1/4 of an inch, yes.
It doesn't, it's not going to be that much of a difference. So you want to do it in an eighth of an inch. All it's going to do is it's going to just make this a tiny bit longer. That's all. Of course, everyone has different zipper foots, so they're going to have to, or zipper foot. What do we call those things? I forget.
A foot.
A foot. Yeah, everyone has different foot. Everyone has different foots on their machine. That is the original foot on this machine. It's all. Somewhere along the line, I actually had a pleater with this machine. I've lost it. I lost it long time ago. Have you ever worked with one of those fingers that goes onto the...
Yes, but not much.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful. It's fun. It's fun to watch it work. We'll sew up the other, and then we'll do some turning. So we have sewed all the pieces. Now we're going to turn them inside out. First we have to trim. So this is Jose's little technique of clipping the points. That way there's less bulk.
Exactly. You don't want the bulk. And then I do clips in every corner right here.
Yeah, you go up in there, but you don't want to clip the stitches. And that, of course, makes it easier too. And first you use your fingers. Using your little bamboo pointer.
Slightly, you don't want to be too rough because then you'll break the fabric.
Yeah, it'll just pop right through.
And if you break it, that's okay. It'll get covered with the trimmings, so it's quite all right. But see, when you clip this end right here, it's less bulky, and that will make you a better.
Because it would just wad up in the inside and be like a little ball. That's looking good. But we'll do the other and then we'll press it out, and then we will be ready for, it's looking really nice. Looks super. We'll press it out and then turn this other piece over, we'll press it out, and then we will come back and we will teach you the next step. So we're back. We've got the cuffs pressed out. They look very nice. We have top stitched the top closed. That's just to keep everything together. It's of course not going to show. So the next stage we're going to do is the trimming. So we apply the trim right to the edge. So we're going to just pin the one little starter piece, and then we're just going to start. So this, you go around. This is a fabulous trim to sew. You do not have to worry about the way your stitches look on the back side, because it's the thread just blends in with the tarlatan. So if you flipped it over, you wouldn't see any stitches. So we're going to just stitch this down. And when we get to the points, we're going to just kind of make the fabric or the trim bend. We're not going to fold it over. It just seems to have a better look. And now if on the edge you somehow miss a stitch or two, it's not going to matter because you can, when you do the bells, you can go back and correct that. So we're going to stitch this up and we will be back to show you the next step. We have completed the trimming of the cream trim. It's looking really nice. Show them the back of it, Jose, so that they can see, you know, when you use the white thread to sew this on with the tarlatan, you can't even see the stitches. So that's looking really, really good. As we sewed this, we did not cut it off of the little scheme of trim. And the reason we don't cut it, try to figure it out, is because it actually, you can overcut it. So it's a good way to conserve the trim. And we like to do that because it could be used for other projects. So the next step is we're going to sew on the gold trim. So the gold trim goes right, it's butted up right to the cream. It'll go right on the edge. So they will just get butted up, and we're going to use the white thread for this same. It's not quite as easy as the cream, but it's fairly easy. So we're going to sew that around. And you can take, you know, pretty nice sized stitches, and they'll be fine. And Jose's using his size 11 needle. And then we're going to do our little turn or a mitered corner, and it's just very, 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 very slight, because if you do it too much it becomes bulky. So we're going to just a very slight miter. And then if it's a little you don't think you've gotten it all, we're going to be putting bells on this later, so then you can go in with, when you put the bells on, and kind of tighten it up a little bit. I'm going to just do a little tiny fold over for the miter. Just ever so slight, because we don't want it to be too bulky. And you can also use this to create more definition of the points. And of course, if you've made any errors in your with the silk and tarlatan, the trim will cover up a lot of little. You can hear that Annabelle's just so excited about the whole concept of sewing. You can hear David in the office. He's doing inventory of dolls that have just come in. I can hear earrings dangling up against bisque heads. Hear Annabelle's little cheeks flapping. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and sew this, and then we will do the fun part. So we have all the hand sewing done on the trim of for the pant cuff. We've got it pretty nice, and then we, as we showed you earlier, we top stitched the top. We've now pressed it over, and it's about 1/8 of an inch. So we took we're staying within our 1/4 of an inch because we took the basting stitch at about 1/8 and folded it over 1/8. So we're good to go at the half inch seam allowance. So now we're going to
attach the two sides together.
So this would be the ends, which would be end to end, which will be the outside of the cuff, which is going to be in alignment with the gold trim down the pant side, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's so the two pieces together. And now,
Without breaking the thread, you can just continue on. Make a knot here at the beginning.
well, you know, most people don't break the thread. Most people cut the thread, but they
Yep.
don't have the kung fu sewing technique that you do.
I'm going to do some sort of a whip stitching here.
And this is really your own. I've never seen anyone else do this the way you do it, but it works great. See, I learned from this, and then you're gonna.
Start pulling after a few stitches.
Don't you usually go about 10?
Yeah, you can go about 10. I go about, between 6 and 10.
And these are fairly little because you want little pretty gathers. You know, this class is so boring that the Bulldogs finally decided to go up and go get in their comfortable beds. There we go. And by the time you get this on the pant leg, there's really not that much work because you've already done a lot of the gathering for. Show them a little bit. Then you just pull it. Then you just keep pulling, do it and pull it and just gather it in. And this you do need to do double thread because
You do.
if you do
It's because of
single, it won't. It'll break. You just see it taking shape. There we go.
Okay,
So now we
so
have
now-
to see, will it fit?
I'm gonna pin this so that it stays in place. And making sure it's,
It's pretty darn good.
that's what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to hide these trims a little more.
Fold them over.
Yeah, that way they don't show.
Here's your little pointer.
This pointer is a saver, lifesaver, kind of.
Yeah, it's like having a little extra finger, isn't it?
Yep.
And we're gonna just whip stitch that in place. And you're just going into the top of your
Yeah,
gathers.
right where the thread is coming out.
Yeah.
And that's where you
just go right back
you just go
underneath.
right back. Yeah, and that's,
This is a technique that you see a lot in 19th century clothes, almost the whole century. We are almost done, so we'll finish this and then we'll come back and show you the final things that we have to do on the pant. So we have completed the cuffs. They're now on. They look good, nice and even gathers. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the ribbon decoration along or at the top of the pant cuff. Now I will tell you, I opened up the instructions and I went to read it to know how we were supposed to do it, and I completely left that out of the pattern. So I apologize for that, but we're gonna teach you what we do right now here. So what we're gonna do is we're going to slow down, Jose. You're just too fast. So we're putting the ribbon around, we're measuring it evenly, and then we're just gonna do a little stitch at the side opening of the pant cuff. And we're gonna stitch that down, just a stitch, so that way it keeps its position. So that's all we're gonna do, a couple stitches, tie it off. And there we go. Now we're going to take the ribbon that's left and we're going to do a bow, which is not going to be easy, but we can do it. Jose and I do bows completely differently, so do it however you like to do it. And then once we get it adjusted the way we want, where we think it's looking really good, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. Once we get it looking really good, then we're going to do another little tack so that it stays completely in place. There we go. Okay, and then we'll just tack that down, and then we're going to be back for the fun little part. Okay, we've got the bows, the ties on, the bows on. They're looking good. They're looking very fluffy, just the way we want. So the next thing we're going to do to complete this task is we are going to sew the bells on. So Jose is going to just start at the tip, and you just take now some of these are hard to find. They're hard to sew on. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it, because they're tiny little things. So you just go in and you take couple little, I'd say at least 3 or 4 loops in, and then tie it off. This is a time, if your points are not perfect, that you can go in and do a little repair work, but that's all there is to it. It's nice little therapy. And you notice that he went in and about 3 or 4 loops He went in and then he wrapped it around and then tied it off. Because these will start to, there's some weight to them. So if you don't sew them down pretty securely, they'll start to sag. So we're gonna go and sew these bells on. There's, I think, 73 bells that have to go on this costume. So it'll take us a while, so we will do that, and then we'll show you the final results, and then we'll move on to a new project. So we have got the pants all finished up. The one thing that I left out of putting the ribbon on, but you might want to do this, is we did in the inner seam of the pant, we did a couple of tiny stitches on the ribbon. Point that out, Jose. Yeah, right there. So that way the ribbon, we didn't want it laying flat. We wanted it to have a kind of a natural fluffiness. So we've gotten that, and we've got the trim on, and the shoes, we've done those already from the last session, so they're on. So we're now on to the top. And it may not make sense of why we did the pants first, but the top goes over the pants. So that's why we did the pants first. You can do it however you like, but when we just thought it would save us the fitting. It looks very nice in the back, and so we're happy as we can be with the project. And I'm really thrilled with the stripes, how even at the top, even though this one's kind of pulled in, bunched up, they're all in an even placement. So we're on to the top next.